Hey, what is going on, football fans? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, be sure to subscribe and also hit the like button on this video. Alrighty, so we are now less than 1 week away from the 2024 NFL Draft. And this mock draft that I have coming up here, it does have trades in it. So we'll see how things turn out. But the draft is truly a crazy time. It's truly unpredictable, and you never know what can happen. So with that in mind, here is my final edition of my 2024 mock draft. And so we come to the Chicago Bears picking at number one. And I think it's pretty obvious who this pick is going to be. They traded Justin Fields in the offseason, and I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking about this. It's going to be Caleb Williams. I think it's beyond safe to say that the Bears, they will go with Caleb Williams. All right, so now we come to Washington, the Commanders at number two. And this pick is going to be a quarterback as well. Just like with Chicago, they traded their starting quarterback and Sam Howell to Seattle. And so it's a toss-up, really, between either Drake May or Jaden Daniels. And with new offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury coming on board, new head coach in Dan Quinn, I think this is a better fit for this scheme, and I have the Commanders going with Jaden Daniels at number two. And we got a trade, and I wonder who is trading up to number three. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, the Raiders. They released Jimmy Garoppolo in the offseason. You know, Aiden O'Connell, he done okay, but I'm not sure if he is what you would call a franchise quarterback. And so the Raiders, they need to draft their quarterback for the future, and I think they get a nice piece here with none other than Drake May from North Carolina. All right, so now we move on to the Cardinals at number four. And it looks like they're going to stick with Kyler Murray at quarterback, but you need a weapon to throw to. And a lot of people, myself included, will say that this is by far the best overall player in this year's draft, and that is Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. This is a can't-miss prospect. Best player in the draft falling into your lap. If you're the Cardinals, you'd be crazy to pass on this pick. All right, so now we come to the Chargers at number five. Of course, we all know Jim Harbaugh left Michigan to go back to the NFL. He's now with the Chargers, and you know, I think this could go one of two ways. I think they go either offensive lineman or wide receiver. I can actually see the Chargers getting a weapon for Justin Herbert to throw to, and I think a very strong, speedy wide receiver in Malik Nabers is the pick for the Chargers at number five. And we got another trade, and who's trading this time? Okay, so the Minnesota Vikings have traded up to number six. They have traded with the New York Giants, and this pick is a quarterback. I think it's pretty safe to say Kirk Cousins left the Vikings in free agency to go to the Atlanta Falcons. And so now the Vikings, they turn to the future. They could possibly go with a different quarterback here, but this guy, J.J. McCarthy from Michigan, we'll see. I mean, the Vikings, they got to do something at quarterback. So, we'll see how things play out. But the Vikings are desperate, and they need a quarterback. And so I can actually see them trading up to get J.J. McCarthy at number six. On to the Tennessee Titans. So I think here the Titans, they bolster up their offensive line. And it's pretty clear Joe Alt, I think, is the best offensive lineman prospect in this draft class. And so I have the Titans going with Joe Alt at number seven. And we got another trade. Going a lot of trades this week, or in this draft. All right, so the Bears, who had the number 9 pick, they have moved up one spot ahead of the Atlanta Falcons. So I think what the Bears do, they got some pretty good weapons on offense, like DJ Moore, who they traded for last year. They did trade for Montez Sweat from Washington, and Montez Sweat is a very good pass rusher. But wouldn't it be nice if he had somebody on the other side to complement him? I think the Bears get that in Dallas Turner from Alabama. All right, so now the Falcons, they moved back one spot from number 8 to number 9. And the Falcons is a team, I think, that could go could go after a pass rusher as well. They need some help getting after the quarterback. But I think here you got to help. You got to get help in the secondary as well if you're the Falcons. And so with that, with the ninth pick, I have the Falcons going with Terrion Arnold from Alabama. All right, so now we come to the Jets at number 10. Of course, the biggest storyline of last offseason was the signing of Aaron Rodgers. Unfortunately, he did not last even one series, and so Aaron Rodgers will be back. But you could use some weapons maybe, but I think more than anything, you got to provide protection to him, and that's been the biggest problem for the Jets, no matter who their quarterback is, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Zach Wilson. And so here, I think they get a very solid offensive lineman, one that I think that is being overlooked, and that is Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State. And we got another trade. Okay, so the Patriots, remember they traded back to 13 with the Raiders. Well, now they've moved up 2 more spots against the trading with the Giants here. And here, I think with this pick, I think the Patriots go with their quarterback of the future. Mac Jones didn't pan out. He was traded in the offseason to Jacksonville. And so here, the Broncos is sitting there at number 12, who also needs a quarterback. And the Patriots realized that if they don't trade up, they could miss out on their guy. And I think that guy is Bo Nix out of Oregon. All right, so now the Broncos, unfortunately, they missed out on drafting Bo Nix at number 12. So what do you do here? Well, not many other quarterbacks, at least in the first round, that are worthy of taking in the first round. They could possibly move up in the second round and draft someone like maybe Michael Penix. But I think here you get a very solid weapon for whoever the quarterback is to throw to, and that is Brock Bowers out of Georgia. Now, yes, Brock Bowers is coming off of an injury, but I don't think that's going to matter much. I think Brock Bowers would be a very solid pick for the Broncos. All right, so now we're back to the Giants again. Finally, at long last. They originally was at 6, then 11. Now they're back at 13. Now the Giants is a team that I could realistically think they could trade up to get a quarterback as well. Whether or not they'll do that, I'm not sure. But Daniel Jones, I think his days with the Giants are numbered. But I think here you got to get help at the receiver position. The last few years the Giants have spent picks on offensive linemen, and I think you get a weapon to throw to no matter who the quarterback is, and that is Rome Odunze from Washington. I have the Giants going with at pick number 13. All right, so on to the Saints. Now, the Saints is a team I think that could possibly move up to get a quarterback as well. Derek Carr, they do have him as a QB, but I don't know how much longer that's going to last. But I think here, if you're the Saints, I know they signed Chase Young in the offseason, and they've got a pretty solid defensive line. But I think you need to upgrade in the trenches. And so with that, I have the Saints going with Olu Fashanu out of Penn State at pick number 14. On to the Colts at 15. So the Colts, they drafted Anthony Richardson last year. He got hurt. It's unfortunate. I think if you're the Colts here, you got to get after the quarterback. That's something they have struggled with recently. And I think this piece right here, this would be a very nice upgrade at the edge rusher position, and that is Jared Verse out of Florida State. All right, so we come to the Seahawks at pick number 16. As I mentioned earlier, they did trade for Sam Howell from Washington, and they still got Geno Smith. And Geno Smith, he's done a pretty solid job for them. And so could they possibly, could this Sam Howell, could he be the quarterback of the future? We don't know. But nonetheless, you got to get protection for whoever your quarterback is. And I think the Seahawks go with J.C. Latham out of Alabama. All right, so moving on to Jacksonville at 17. So Jacksonville, they just barely missed making it to the playoffs last year, and on the last week of the season. They did re-sign Josh Allen. Remember in my last mock draft, I had them going with an edge rusher. Cam Robinson, I don't know how much more he has left in the tank, how much longer he'll be in Jacksonville. And so here, I think they draft a very solid possible replacement for him, and that is Amarius Mims out of Georgia. All right, so we come to the Bengals at number 18. Now, the Bengals, they need help at the offensive line position. They got a pretty solid receiver in Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins, their number 2 guy, he did sign the franchise tag, but don't know what the future holds for this guy. And so you got to have a backup plan. And so with that, I have the Bengals drafting another LSU receiver, and that is Brian Thomas. And we got another trade. Man, a lot of trades in this draft. And of course, it's the Eagles. I mean, it just wouldn't be the NFL draft if Howie Roseman did not trade up with the team. So the Eagles, they trade with the Rams to move up a few spots to get a position they desperately need help at, and that is cornerback. Their secondary has been horrendous the last several years. James Bradbury, he's really fallen off, as has Darius Slay. And so I think they get a very nice young corner here, very, very athletic, and that is Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. All right, so now we come to pick number 20 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers are a team I think that could use a little help in the secondary as well. And this guy, he can do it all. He can play safety or corner. And, of course, I am talking about Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. I think he would be a very solid pick for Pittsburgh. They're a team that could possibly go after a quarterback, maybe. I mean, they did sign Russell Wilson, and they also traded for Justin Fields, but still, you don't know how that's going to turn out. But I have the Steelers going with Cooper DeJean at pick number 20. All right, coming back to the Dolphins at pick number 21. Remember in my last mock draft, I had the Dolphins going with Graham Barton out of Duke, and I don't think that pick will change. He's a very good guard, and they need some help on that offensive line to provide protection for Tua. They got some good weapons like Tyreek Hill. So here, I think this is a safe pick. I think this pick makes a lot of sense for the Dolphins. And so with that, I have them going with Graham Barton. All right, so now we're back to the Rams. This is the pick they traded back from the Philadelphia Eagles. And so Aaron Donald, very legendary defensive player, he announced his retirement. And it's hard to replace someone like him. And I think they get a very good replacement. Maybe not as good as Aaron Donald, but I think this pick makes a lot of sense for the Rams. And so with that, for the first time in 8 years, the Rams, they have a first round pick, and I think they use that on Byron Murphy out of Texas. All right, so we come to the Vikings. Now remember, this pick originally belonged to the Browns. They traded it to the Texans when they traded for Deshaun Watson. Now the Vikings have traded with the Texans to this pick. And so here, they need some help at the edge rusher position. They got their quarterback earlier. And so I have them going with Latu from UCLA at pick number 23. All right, so we come to the Cowboys now. And here I think it's pretty clear. The Cowboys, they need help on their offensive line. And so I think they get a nice replacement for Tyron Smith. And I have them going with Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma at pick number 24. Very, very big offensive lineman. The guy's like 6'7", and I think he'd be a very good pickup for Dallas. So we come to the Packers at number 25. And, I think here, again, they just upgrade in the trenches. And I have them going with Troy Fautaunu out of Washington. I think this is he could provide very good protection for Jordan Love. Jordan Love played amazing last year, took the Packers to the playoffs. And so with that, I have them going with Troy Fautaunu at pick number 25. And we got another trade. Who could it be? Okay, so the Buffalo Bills have moved up 2 spots from 28 to 26 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so Stephon Diggs, he's gone from Buffalo. He is now with Houston. And so at pick 26, I think they draft a very solid receiver here. Josh Allen, he's going to need a weapon to throw to. And so with that, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting Adonai Mitchell out of Texas at the wide receiver position. All right, so now we come to Arizona at pick number 27. And I think here they need to upgrade their secondary. And very solid corner. And of course, I'm talking about Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. All right, so now we come back to Tampa Bay. So they moved back 2 spots from 26 to 28. And Baker Mayfield, he done an incredible job for Tampa Bay last year. He took them to the playoffs. Very, very remarkable season for him. He signed a deal, so long-term contract, well, 3-year contract, I think. But anyway, I think here you get a good weapon for Baker Mayfield to throw to, and that is Xavier Worthy out of Texas. All right, so now we come to the Lions at pick number 29. Now, what a job for the Lions they did last year, making it all the way to the NFC Championship game where they barely lost to the 49ers. And I think anyone who was not a fan of the 49ers was pulling for the Lions. I know I was, for sure. As far as what they need help in, it's the secondary. It's pretty clear the Lions, they need help at the corner position. And I think here they get a very nice piece with Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. I think he would be a very good pickup for the Lions. All right, so now we come to Baltimore at pick number 30. So Baltimore barely missed making the Super Bowl last year. And they need some help at receiver because their receiving core, they're getting up there in age, like with Nelson Aguilar. OBJ, you don't know if he'll be back, but he's getting up there in age too. And so I think here they get a guy who I think is being overlooked in this draft. I think that could be a very nice asset. And, of course, I'm talking about Keon Coleman out of Florida State. All right, so we come to the Niners at pick number 31. And, it's unfortunate, for them that they barely missed yet again, losing in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs. It's hard to. This pick could go a number of ways for San Francisco, but I think here they bolster up that offensive line, provide some protection for Brock Purdy, and so with that, I have the Niners going with Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. 1 pick to go, and of course it gets traded. So the Washington Commanders, they have moved back into the first round at pick number 32. They have traded with the Kansas City Chiefs, and just like with many other teams, the offensive line has been a major, major issue for Washington. And so it's hard to say what they'll do with this pick, but I think they wouldn't be trading back up if they weren't going to take an offensive lineman or potentially an edge rusher. But I think they go with an offensive lineman, and I think that lineman is Kingsley Suamataia out of BYU. All right, so there you have it, folks. That is my 2024 NFL mock draft. So what are your thoughts on this draft, guys? I'd love to hear from you down below in the comments section. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.